I'd like to bring up Robert LeBlanc, the SVP of IBM Cloud. So, thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you. How you doing? How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
Good. When did you get in?
This morning.
Okay. Are we catching you with sleep or no sleep?
Oh, no, I got a couple hours on the plane. It was a smooth ride.
Okay, perfect. So, welcome to Box World Tour Europe.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming by. Maybe just to level set, just so we have kind of complete context, and I'd like to both talk about this partnership as well as some of IBM's transformation in general. Maybe first, if you want to share kind of what your role and what your organization is, and then a little bit about how you guys are partnering with us, and maybe a little bit more about the partnership from your perspective.
Okay, I have the responsibility for the IBM Cloud from soup to nuts, from our infrastructure all the way out to our software as a service. And I guess I would talk about the transformation that's going on. Even the cloud is changing. If you looked at back 2 years ago, we were all worried about the cloud, and everyone wanted to go to the cloud, and it was all around saving money.
Right.
It was, hey, I can get cheap storage, I can get cheap compute. Why don't I take my application instead of running in my data center? I'll just go run it in a cloud data center, and the world's going to be better.
Yes.
Well, I think all of that has changed, and the cloud now is not so much a destination as it is a platform, and I view it as a platform for innovation, because it can accelerate the transformation, the digital transformation that you talked about. And it makes it easier for you to bring new capabilities, to change your processes, and do it very, very quickly. And from our perspective, we believe it's a hybrid world. No one says, hey, I'm going to take all of my data centers and tomorrow they're all in the cloud. It is going to be a mix. And people are going to move at their own pace.
We tell people to do that, though.
Yes.
Yes.
And they're going to move at their own pace.
Fair point.
Okay? And they want to have some of their data. They're still going to want it on-prem.
Yep.
Some of it they want in the cloud. But it's the client that should be deciding the rate and pace that makes sense for their business, depending on regulatory, locality of data, security, and everything else. So we want to kind of enable that. And we really see that. Every client I've talked to in the last 6 months says, you know what, I'm in a hybrid world. I don't know if it's 20/80 or 80/20, but I'm going. And over time, more and more will go out onto the cloud. But it is really becoming a platform, right. And it's a platform for innovation, because moving for the sake of just moving my application to the cloud, right. That doesn't bring business value.
Right, and have you guys been able to then make it sort of as seamless and transparent then as possible for the customer of which mode they're in and where they are in that transition? I assume that with the kind of scale you guys have and the technology you have the ability to kind of make that less of a complication.
Yeah, if you look at some of the technologies that we've got, and you look at our platform as a service, our Bluemix platform, you can run it in the public cloud, you can run it in dedicated cloud, or you can run a local. And so that gives the client the consistency and the ability to run it where it makes sense, right. And move things around when they want to move it around, not tied to the technology or to an implementation. And that also enables them to build new business processes, because I think this is all around the transformation of business process. Why would I take an old process and just move it to the cloud? I might as well take that process, use new technologies like Box, and reimagine the process. And if I can do that, I can bring real value to the business, and I can help in that digital transformation. Just moving it from point A to point B is not real business value. Yeah, maybe the technology is a little better, but I want to change the business and the processes that run the business.
Yeah, and I think what G2 will certainly discuss in a little bit is what we tend to find is if you just take modern technology and try and apply it to a legacy process, all you're going to get is just a more digital version of a legacy process. And that's not how we tend to see the more digital disruptors emerge, where they're actually fundamentally reinventing the process. So are you helping with some of that then process reengineering as well? I guess that's where the global business services side of IBM comes
Absolutely.
into play.
In fact, that's probably the fastest growing part of our consulting business, is going in there with and helping clients with digital transformation. And it also is changing the kind of partnerships that we have. You saw us announce a partnership last year with Apple.
Right.
Being able to take mobility and bring mobility into the enterprise, and be able to connect mobility to all of the enterprise sets of processes that I have today, to all of the data that I've got, and also to start expand so that I can start to do analytics and cognitive against not only the data I have in my own data center, but all the data that's available out in the cloud, that's available from third parties, that's available, from partners,
Right.
and really start to look at this thing as an end-to-end and go outside the four walls, as you said. And then you saw us partner with VMware, right? So a lot of you have, VMware in your shop today, and you want to move some of those virtual images. You want to move them out the cloud. You want to be able to move workload where it makes sense, where either for economics or data, locality, whatever the reason is, you want to move it.
Right.
So we're changing our partnership, and our partnership with Box last year,
Right.
Is another one. So I look at the ecosystem of the old was, hey, let me partner with a bunch of vendors. I think today, you're not picking a vendor anymore. You're picking an ecosystem. And the interaction in that you talked about earlier, I think is important, because that level of integration is going to be really important. Because if we don't do it collectively as partners, you all out there are going to be able are going to have to do that integration.
Yep.
And we all know integration is hard.
Yeah, and I think we've all seen sort of now multiple decades where the industry's problems and the industry's competition was sort of forced upon the customer to sort of resolve that, and they had to then deal with those experiences. So it sounds like you guys are believers in the fact that this is going to be a much more open and interoperable ecosystem. So, and the Apple partnership was certainly very cool as well, and I think that kind of shook things up in the industry. So it sounds like that was more than just sort of getting iPhone discounts or something for you guys. So that was a pretty big deal.
The application, I think, that we'll show here,
Right.
the expert seller capability
That's pretty
that
big
we
deal.
worked on. That's a big deal. At our big cloud conference in February, we announced that we've taken Swift, which is used by most developers for the front end for doing mobile development, now is on the back end.
Okay.
So now they've got full enterprise capability end to end, and that's millions and millions of programmers now. That makes it easy for them to build true enterprise class applications.
So with, this feels like a very different kind of IBM. Certainly as we've been working with it, it's been a very nimble organization, which is, I think, amazing given the scale that you guys operate at. Maybe if you could just touch on some of the other technology initiatives, and then we'll dive into zones and what we're doing from a direct partnership standpoint. But we, I think, as outsiders to IBM, hear a lot about Watson and cognitive. Where are you guys in that part of the journey? Is it really going to be the fourth platform, or where are we at in that tech space?
Well, if you look at kind of what we're doing on the IBM Cloud, is we are building platforms on the cloud. We have a whole platform around analytics. So everything from Hadoop, but some of the newer technologies like Spark, and make it easier for clients to use the technology. And also easy to ingest data, because you're going to ingest data from your own organization, but you're also going to ingest data from outside. You may buy the data from third parties, or there's a lot of available data out there. We bought the weather company. It surprised everyone. Everyone said, oh, IBM, you're getting into the whole weather space. No, we bought a platform. They handle billions and billions of interactions every single day. Mm-hmm. So they had a platform. That platform is forming the basis for our Internet of Things. And when you think about an Internet of Things, all these interconnected devices, how do I manage all the data? How do I manage security? How do I move data around? How do I apply analytics to all of that data? In fact, for our Internet of Things team, we didn't even put it in the US. We put it here in Europe. So the Internet of Things unit is in Munich.
Okay.
So we put it right in Germany, where a lot of IoT innovation is happening, whether it be in manufacturing or the automobile industry. You want to be where things are changing. So that's the best way to support it. And then you look at our cognitive efforts around Watson. In fact, all of our Watson technology is only on the cloud. So you want to use Watson, it's on the cloud. We've got 29 cognitive services that today run in the Bluemix platform on the IBM Cloud.
There's no client-server Watson?
There's no client-server Watson.
Okay.
And when you think about it, when we did the original Watson that played Jeopardy, it was a fully integrated system.
Yeah.
And boy, I'll tell you, that's not what clients want. They just want the capability.
Right.
So we effectively rewrote the whole thing from scratch, put it out on the cloud, and now anyone can use the set of advanced cognitive analytics and build new kinds of applications. We've seen it in healthcare. It's probably the area that we focused on the most in the early days. But you've seen it in, with people like Thomson Reuters. You've seen Medtronic. They can now, with health devices, manage diabetes much better.
Right.
We announced a partnership with Under Armour.
Oh, wow.
So now we gather up all the data, we apply cognitive, and we can now start to advise individuals in situations. So, that's a whole new set of platforms. And that's all driven by data and the availability of data. When you think about it, the cloud has really enabled much more data to be accessed, more data to be analyzed, more data to apply advanced cognitive to. So we really view this as bringing more value.
Yeah, and so in this world where we want to get as much as possible from our data, and we want to be able to collaborate around it, we want to be able to share it with the right people, we want to keep it secure. Many of the world's largest organizations, or again, actually organizations of truly any size, if you're in a regulated space, if you're in a regulated industry, like healthcare or life sciences or transportation or financial services, you have this tension of, I can do so much with my data now. There's so many things I can learn from my information, so many new experiences I can create, so many new ways I can be collaborating around it. And at the same time, I have to deal with these regulatory pressures. I have to deal with all of the security challenges. So we partnered up on Box Zones specifically to try and help customers of any size around the world to be able to solve that challenge. So when you think about Box Zones and the capability that can bring to our joint customers, I mean, how do you think about that strategically?
Well, when you think about it, we're very much focused on global reach and security. And we've got 46 cloud data centers around the world. We're in 16 different countries. And we saw that shift in the marketplace where people wanted their data in country for regulatory reasons, for performance, latency reasons. There's lots of reasons. And we said, look, we're going to put major data centers in all of the major countries around the world and allow the client to choose where they want to do their compute, where they want to have their storage. And then late last year, we bought a company called CleverSafe, which really adds to the way we can provide the resiliency and security for object storage, which is the base for a lot of what's happening here in the cloud.
Right.
And they've got technology for geodispersion. So without having to replicate all the data, we can provide much better resiliency, availability, and security. And that's what clients want. And we're now starting to roll that technology out, which is underpinning, the technology here that's underneath Box, and opens up a whole new set of abilities and innovation that clients can take on.
Well, I think that collectively, the way that certainly we see the application we're building, and certainly from an infrastructure side, what you're enabling in that application is the world is getting more complex. The business challenges that we're all collectively facing are more complex. But that shouldn't show up in the technology that our employees are using to get their job done. So as you see this complexity increase, the number of devices people want to work from, the number of locations people want to work from, how can we actually deliver really simple experiences? And you guys at IBM, have 46 cloud data centers, and we wanted to be able to kind of leverage that scale and take advantage of that as opposed to replicating all of that technology. And that's, I think, the essence of the cloud partnership. And then I think beyond that, we're playing with things like, what is the future of content security? What's the future of content productivity? Does cognitive and does Watson apply to those areas? And I think, we are collectively thinking that the answer is yes. And how can we, deliver experiences in market that really are, born out of those two product sets?
Yeah, and the enterprise has its own unique set of challenges, and that's our history. That's what we know, and we're the leader in security for the enterprise. But we're also investing in a lot of new technology and acquiring technology and helping that level of integration and integrating with Box and other capabilities that brings value to the client. And you also got to give the client the choice. We can't go to a client and say, well, you can only do it this way. Then all you've done is poured concrete over the process, and that doesn't give them the flexibility to innovate. And you want to innovate in an agile way, as you said. The static processes are going to be a thing of the past. And what we're trying to do is build out a platform that enables that kind of innovation.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for the partnership.
Okay.
We're very excited about it, and we're excited that it's going to be rolling out very soon.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Robert LeBlanc, thank you.
Thank you.